Hey everybody, Eric Smith here with another installment of the F. Paul Wilson's Secret History of the World read along, reading series, book review, whatever the hell I'm calling this. Today I'm talking about Conspiracies. F. Paul Wilson, obviously, from Tor. This is let me look up at the shelf, this is the third Repairman Jack novel. And in this one, Repairman Jack um, is hired by this guy with a missing wife. The wife is into conspiracies, and so Jack ends up going to a convention. I'm not sure if that's what they call it. I don't know what else you would call it. Yeah, it says right there on the back. Convention of conspiracy minded people in his search for this missing woman. And craziness ensues, of course. And while this is going on, he's got another job that he's working on and trying to have his life with his girlfriend Gia and her daughter Vicky. And he is having nightmares about the creatures that he confronted in The Tomb, the first Repairman Jack novel. So that's it in a nutshell. So right off the bat, I don't know if it needs to be said, this is a well-written book. F. Paul Wilson is a fantastic writer. Do I have to say that every time? Maybe I'll just wait. If one of them I feel isn't written as well as the others, I should mention that. But, F. Paul Wilson consistently is just a good writer. Great pacing, great characters. So the writing, we don't have to worry about that. Now, I'll admit, I am a little biased. I love reading about conspiracies. Look at those flying saucers down there. Put a little, like, periscopy thing on there. Wouldn't they look like the ones from the old War of the Worlds movie? Anyway, so I love reading about conspiracy stuff. I've read this book, 50 Greatest Conspiracies. Of course, right after I read it, a new edition came out called 75 Greatest Conspiracies, which I have not read yet to get those other 25. But I love reading about that kind of stuff. I relatively recently read a book called Conspiracies, Philosophers, something, something. It's by the same publisher as Pop Culture and Philosophy. I don't know why it wasn't just called Philosophy and Conspiracies or Conspiracies and Philosophy, because that's essentially what it was. That was really interesting. There's a guy I work with, always talking about conspiracies. I told him while I was reading this, I was like, I think you're in this book. Have you met F. Paul Wilson? Did he put you in here? But anyway, so yeah, I was already sort of predisposed to enjoying this because once Jack takes the case, so he meets this guy, and at first it just seems like a missing wife case. He doesn't want to get involved, but for reasons I'm not going to go into because I don't want to spoil them, he's convinced to take the case, and he, goes to this. It's a weekend long convention, all these different conspiracy theorists, and once he starts interacting with these people, it's just fantastic. All our favorite secondary characters, for lack of a better term, are here. We've got, again, Gia and Vicky, Abe, the guy that runs a sporting goods store, who's also mainly a gun dealer, Jack's best friend. Julio, who has a bar where Jack meets clients. They're all here. And as I said, Jack is having nightmares about the Rakashi from The Tomb. And this book, if you've been watching this series, so The Tomb absolutely had supernatural elements to it. And then when I talked about Legacies, I said there's no supernatural element to that one whatsoever. Pretty sure that's still the case. This one absolutely dives headfirst back into the supernatural, back into the super weird, and it's fantastic. I love Jack. He's out of his element at this so early in his, at least in the series. Although once I'm done reviewing and we get into how this all fits into the secret history of the world, we'll talk more about this. But yeah, Jack's sort of a fish out of water when it comes to the supernatural at this point. His third adventure, as far as we're concerned. So yeah, highly recommended. I really need to start looking at Goodreads before I do these things. I think I gave it a 5 out of 5. Again, maybe because of that bias I have towards Conspiracies. The people he meets are, they're just such great characters. And there's all sorts of different types of conspiracy theorists in here. You've got a woman who is ultra religious, who believes the end times are coming, and thinks that Satan has put microchips that work at, I think she said 6.66 megahertz. They're the 666 microchips in your head. And then you've got people who believe in aliens, but different. They believe in aliens. You got these two different people, many more, but I'm just saying you have two different people believe in aliens, but completely different things, and they're fighting because this guy says, no, it's the Greys, and they've been giving us technology, but they're trying to lull us into a false sense of security, and this guy's saying, no, this is what the case is, and the aliens are actually this, and so even though they both believe in aliens, they believe completely different things about the aliens, and there's someone who thinks aliens come from the hollow earth, and you've got people that believe in the New World Order and the shadow government, black helicopters, men in black, all sorts of stuff. I love it. I absolutely love it. And these characters are so fun, for lack of a better term. And seeing Jack interact with them is a lot of fun. And of course, he's eventually going to, dig up what's going on, because he is Repairman Jack, and things get really crazy. And that's, I don't want to give too much away, because you should be reading this. So, like I said, I think I gave it 5 out of 5 on Goodreads, and I think this will end the review portion of the video. So now we're going to get into secret history kind of stuff, potential spoilers. So I'm going to grab my trusty handle of signals and look at the list in the back. So let's see. We had that. And then where the heck is... I'm missing something. Oh, there it is. It's printed oddly. So we are in year 0 minus 2 with Conspiracies. So we're 2 years away from the end of the world as we know it. Between the previous book, Legacies, and this book, Conspiracies, there was a short story called Interlude at Dwayne's, which took place in April of year minus 2. Conspiracies takes place in April of year minus 2. Now, this list says it contains, or it includes, a short story called Home Repairs. Maybe that's a later edition, because that was not in my copy. So, unless it's just sort of mixed in, but I don't think so. So there's no Home Repairs in here. All right, so the crazy part to me, right off the bat, The Tomb came out in 1984, according to the back of the book. I'm looking at it here. 1984 is a New York Times bestseller, The Tomb. So, 1984, this book has a copyright, I believe, of 2000. At least that's what this says. So, that's quite a long time. I swear The Tomb was 81. But anyway, it doesn't matter. But, very clearly, Repairman Jack thinks about the incident with the Rakashi that took place last summer. So that blows my mind, personally, that you have these books written decades apart, and yet the stories... so if it's last summer for The Tomb and April for this, we're talking 6, 7, 8 months difference. or time span between the two stories, and yet they were written decades apart. I absolutely love that. And Legacies really didn't, as far as I could tell, really didn't talk too much about the tomb, didn't have too much to do with the other books that I'd read so far for this little series I'm doing, which is The Keep and Reborn. And this one, absolutely, again, he talks about the incident from last summer. He's dreaming about the Rakashi. So we have that direct link to the tomb. And then some other things happen in here that directly link us to Legacies. But even better, in my opinion, is that it straight up talks about some of the things that happened in Reborn, which took place, the story, Reborn, took place in, I have to look at the list here, I'm vamping. Reborn was March of 1968. February and March of 1968. Still don't know exactly when these are supposed to be taking place. But obviously decades later. So I like that it straight up is like, this stuff happened in Reborn. It's affecting what's happening now. So it's a very, possibly the strongest link since the link between The Keep and Reborn. Because those things it's Reborn, essentially, I think, is like a direct sequel to The Keep. And those two books are part of the Adversary cycle. So now Repairman Jack is very firmly linked to those books. So I love that. I love that we've gone into the supernatural. I love that Jack, so far in the 3 stories that I've read, is out of his element when he's dealing with the supernatural. Doesn't quite, even though he's dealt with the Rakashi, and now he's had the experiences that he had here, still, I think, doesn't necessarily believe everything. We'll see what happens when I read the next book, if how he's affected by what happened here. So it's all kind of coming together. I've got quite a few books left to read until we get to the end of the world as we know it. And again, I don't even have all the books that are part of the secret history of the world. So there is so much more story to come, so much story, unfortunately, I'm not going to get to. Eventually, I'm going to have all this stuff. I really hope that's my goal. But I can only do what I can do right now, which is read the Repairman Jack books, the Adversary Cycle books. Are any of you people reading along? I hope so. If not, I recommend you read these books. I don't think you have to read any of these in a particular order, but you should. This is a lot of fun. I'm digging what I'm doing here. So let's see. After Conspiracies, Repairman Jack, book number 3. We're looking right here. The very next story on this list, Conspiracies, April of year 0-2. Very next thing, All the Rage, May, year 0-2. I believe All the Rage is the last Repairman Jack book that I have already read. So I'll be rereading it. And this does say it includes the last Rakash, however you say it. And I swear my edition has that. I don't know why this one doesn't seem to have home repairs. But my All the Rage, because I know I've read the last Rakash, however you say it. Anyway, that's the next book that I'm reading. All the Rage. I was going to say sure and certain at the same time. Pretty certain I've already read it, and it's the last one that I've read. So everything else after that is going to be brand new to me. So if you go back to my introductory video for this series, that list of everything that I'm going to be reading in this series, you can see how much is left that I have not even read yet. And I'm looking forward to it. We got a bunch of Repairman Jack stuff coming up. There's kind of looking over 1, 2, 3 more Adversary Cycle books, including this one. A bunch of Repairman Jack. So we got a ways to go, but it's good stuff. It's a fun little task I've set for myself. I'm loving it. Love Repairman Jack. Love Conspiracies. So this was great fun. Is there anything else I wanted to cover? Why am I asking you? You don't know if there was anything else that I wanted to go over as far as the whole secret history of the world stuff. If anyone's read this, I would love to talk about it, get into details down in the comments. So if you have any questions, comments, or corrections, please put them in the comments below. Comments are open for spoilers. Just leave a spoiler warning. I don't know if I've said this in any of the earlier videos, but if you have read the other books that come after this, please don't spoil those. We can discuss spoilers of the things I've already read and that you've read. I don't want to spoil it for you. I don't want you to spoil it for me. So please don't jump ahead and tell me what's happening. I want it to smack me in the face as I read it. But so comments below. Let's get into it. Please like, share, and subscribe. That's all I've got, I think. I'm pretty sure I covered everything. You know, you think after all this time that I've been doing this, I would like take notes or something, but I just like to wing it. I do think about some of the stuff I want to talk about as I'm reading. Things will pop into my head, and then say I finish this on Sunday. I record these on Saturdays, so I got a whole week. Some things will pop into my head, but I don't write any of it down. If that annoys you, let me know in the comments below if I ramble too much. If you don't like the way I present these things, I'm always open to taking or listening to suggestions. I might not necessarily do it, but you never know. Anyway, that's all I've got. This has been... did I say like, share, and subscribe? I don't know. Please do that. So that's the latest installment, I suppose, of this weird secret history of the world F. Paul Wilson project that I've got going on. That's all I've got. So until next time, read more books.